Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and today we are back with my patented character analysis series. It's actually been a little bit since we've done one of these. I believe the last one was Jade, actually, and I'm not going to say how long ago that was because you will all expose me for how far ahead I record, but it's been a while at this point. Honestly, I really enjoy doing this series when I can, but also, it's kind of taken a backseat to many of the other things on the channel. A, because it's kind of a pain to edit, I'm not gonna lie, because I have to do a lot of cropping and zooming and a lot of that. It just gets a bit aggravating at a certain point. The other factor is mainly, I do this series now always correlated with the reward queue that I have. So, for any of you who do not know, if you become a Aeon tier member on my YouTube, you can request one of these videos to be done about a character of your choosing, provided I have not already done a video about them. Then, you can go and spend, I believe, 30,000 channel points on Twitch, and I will also do a video that is this exact same style. With that being the case, and there's two different sources to kind of get something like this, I mainly just do these videos in relation to that reward queue now. I don't really mix in ones of characters that I personally am going to talk about. And at this point, if I do characters that I want to talk about, I'm probably going to do something else, or I'll probably try and make it a bit more special, per se. So, that's kind of where we're at with this series, but I'm sure many of you do not care about that. You're here for the cool, actual fun content of talking about our character for today. That character is none other than Black Swan. So, without any further ado, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into the video. Alright, so, I'm gonna be honest, I want to try and do something a little bit different with this video. We'll see how it actually plays out and all that, but, we are gonna keep the same vibes up, basically, where I am going to actually go over the moveset of the character, go over the Eidolons real quick, just give you a rough explanation of everything, kind of just tell you what they do, all that good stuff from our lovely little website Preed one here. After that, I will be going over what I personally like about the character, their moveset, all that, how they fit into the game, and then we will discuss building a little bit. So, if you are somebody who is already pretty well associated with how Black Swan works and operates, I would highly recommend skipping to this part of the video. That way, you are going to be getting to the part that is more than likely more interesting for you, which is talking about why I think the character is well designed, why I think the character's cool, all that good stuff. For everyone else, we're gonna get straight into it, and yeah, I usually prefer to just skip basic attacks now, but Black Swan is a little interesting, so we actually have to talk about it. So let's start with basic attack, Percipience Silent Dawn. Deals wind damage equal to 60% of Black Swan's attack to a single target enemy, with a 65% base chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana. If the target hit currently has any of the DOT effects already applied to them, each one respectively has a 65% base chance of inflicting 1 extra stack of Arcana. Yeah, that's really, really good for DOT, because now you're just getting more bang for your buck. You're getting even more Arcana stacks, which are going to do even more damage. You have a high chance of getting them with a character like Heisland, who applies like all DOTs immediately. That combination is really, really big. This basic attack, great as just a flat damage placement. You're going to want this to really start building up damage for all your other characters. So we're actually going to skip ahead real quick because I've already mentioned Arcana. Arcana is Black Swan's main gimmick. It is the most important thing to her kit, without a shadow of a doubt. I want to touch on that real quick so we can actually start understanding the rest of the moveset, since everything Black Swan does includes Arcana, essentially. So that takes us to Black Swan's talent. Hoo boy. Every time an enemy target receives DOT at the start of each turn, there is a 65% base chance for it to be inflicted with Arcana. While afflicted with Arcana, enemy targets receive wind DOT equal to 240% of Black Swan's attack at the start of each turn. Each stack of Arcana increases this DOT damage multiplier by 12%. Then, Arcana resets to 1 stack. Arcana can stack up to 50 times, by the way. Keep that in mind. Only when Arcana causes damage at the start of an enemy target's turn, Black Swan triggers additional effects based on the number of Arcana stacks inflicted on the target. When there are 3 or more Arcana stacks, deals wind DOT equal to 180% of Black Swan's attack to adjacent targets, with a 65% base chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on adjacent targets. When there are 7 or more Arcana stacks, enables the current DOT dealt this time to ignore 20% of the target's and adjacent target's defense. So, Arcana. Really good. Really, oh my god. So Arcana is essentially a multiplier that just keeps growing over time, and you get rewarded for having more DOT on the enemy because you'll get more Arcana, and as a result, Arcana will do more. It essentially serves itself, only growing stronger the more you put into it. It's a very interesting mechanic, and quite frankly, I've always really enjoyed it. It just didn't work super well for a little bit, but with the changes to DOT, to Kafka, and with Hysolins, everything works way better now, and it makes a lot more sense. Arcana, kinda hard to understand, but for the most part, hit enemy, keep hitting enemy, you will get Arcana stacks, you'll do massive damage, you get to vibe. That's what you need to know. Let's move on to skill. Decadence, False Twilight. Deals wind damage equal to 90% of Black Swan's attack to a single target enemy and any adjacent targets. At the same time, there is a 100% base chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on the target enemy and the adjacent targets. And there is a 100% base chance of reducing the defense of the target enemy and the adjacent targets by 20.8%, lasting for 3 turns. Just for reference, Defense Shred is incredible and is something you should always be looking for if you can. The way that it stacks becomes much more rewarding the higher of a number you get. If you get to like 88% Defense Shred, you actually get even more damage than 88% increased damage. It's quite interesting how it works. It can be hard to hit that exact number, but with the right sets, with the right abilities, it's really, really not that far out of reach. 20.8%, by the way, is massive. To get to that like 80-90 range that you want to hit to start getting even more reward out of it, that's a fourth of it right there, all from this skill. That is super nice. Last but not least, we have Ultimate, Bliss of Otherworld's Embrace. Inflicts Epiphany on all enemies for 2 turns. Enemies afflicted by Epiphany take 25% more damage in their turn, and their Arcana effect is regarded as Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, and Shock effects. In addition, when their Arcana effect is triggered at the beginning of the next turn, the Arcana stacks are not reset. The stack non-reset effect can be triggered up to 1 time in Epiphany's duration, and its charges are replenished when Epiphany is applied again. Deals wind damage equal to 120% of Black Swan's attack to all enemies. Yeah, the damage of this literally does not matter. Taking 25% increased damage and having your Arcana not reset, meaning you can actually hit that stack limit of 50. Incredible. This ultimate is super nice and should be applied as often as possible to get the most out of your Black Swan. Getting to keep all of those DOT statuses that increase damage, getting to hit them, you get the Arcana stacks. All of this combines into a perfectly timed way to obliterate your enemies. This is super, super nice as a debuffing ult. So we're going to jump down a little bit. Nobody cares about techniques. Let's move on to major traces. I'm going to be honest, we're kind of just going to breeze through these. The main one I would like to talk about is our final one, A6 here, Candle Flame's Portent. Portent? I don't know what that word is. Increases this unit's damage by amount equal to 60% of effect hit rate, up to a maximum damage increase of 72%. This is a very massive damage boost for Black Swan. Similarly, it is one of my favorite types of traces. This trace encourages you to build effect hit rate, which is Black Swan's most important stat. By building it, you get a good increase in your damage to make up for any other lacking stats you might get while building it. I really, really enjoy traces like this. I've made that very well known, and this is another prime case of those being great. The other 2 traces are both pretty good. They mostly assist in more increased damage and more Arcana stacks, which, hey, we all know Black Swan loves her Arcana stacks. So, with that done, now I would like to move on to Eidolons. As per usual, I will be talking about Eidolons pretty briefly, but for anyone who might want to invest later down the line or they get lucky, I think understanding them to some degree is a massive, massive benefit. So let's start with E1, 7 Pillars of Wisdom. While Black Swan is active in battle, enemies afflicted with Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, or Shock will have their corresponding Wind, Physical, Fire, or Lightning res, respectively reduced by 25%. Pretty good, not too bad. it is a basically just 25% damage increase to some extent. Honestly, pretty good. And I know some people are yelling at me like, that's not a, there's more specifics to it. I do not care. E2, Weep Not For Me, My Lamb. When an enemy target afflicted with Arcana is defeated, there is a 100% base chance of inflicting 6 stacks of Arcana on adjacent targets. This is okay. Obviously, more Arcana is always a benefit. However, it does require there to be a target afflicted with Arcana that you can easily defeat. So this would mainly consist of mob-type enemies. If there is a fight that doesn't really have mob-type enemies, I don't really know what you're going to do at that point. It doesn't become anywhere near as helpful. I would say keep that in mind, but it can still definitely have very solid value in big fights or for something like Pure Fiction. E3 and E5 are both talent upgrades, so we will be skipping them. E4, In Tears We Gift. While in the Epiphany state, enemy targets have their effect res reduced by 10%, and at the start of their turn or when they get defeated, Black Swan regenerates 8 energy. This energy regeneration effect can only trigger up to 1 time while Epiphany lasts, and this trigger count resets after the enemy gets inflicted with Epiphany again. So basically, for every ult you do, you get the chance to regenerate 8 energy, and the effect res of enemies is reduced by 10%. This guarantees that all of your debuffs will land more than likely, and hey, you will still get 8 energy every single time after you ult. This is okay. I've already said I'm really not super impressed with most E4s in this game, and this is a classic case of I really don't think this is that good. I know there were some people arguing about it in my comments, but that is my personal opinion. I really do not think this is that good or even remotely worth it in any way, shape, or form, so hey, oh well. Last but not least, E6, Pantheon Merciful, Masses Pitiful. When enemy targets get attacked by Black Swan's allies, Black Swan has a 65% base chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on the target. Each time Black Swan inflicts Arcana on an enemy target, there is a 50% fixed chance to additionally increase the number of Arcana stacks inflicted this time by 1. So, on top of every attack Black Swan throws out having a chance to put Arcana, and having a chance to get more Arcana for every DOT on the target, you now have a chance to just get another Arcana stack by just doing your job and having these Arcana stacks spawn. And that's without even mentioning, now every single one of Black Swan's allies has a chance of inflicting Arcana. That's base chance as well, so that's affected by effect hit rate. That's really, really good. It likely means every single attack by an ally is inflicting yet another stack of Arcana. You will consistently be getting the max value possible out of your Arcana stacks, and as a result, your damage is going to skyrocket even more, especially in combination with E1. This is a very, very potent combo that will substantially increase your personal damage. Alright, that's all the Eidolons, and I feel like I made it very obvious. E1 is by far the best Eidolon here, and it is not close, with your next best being E6. E2 and E4 are both extremely mediocre to say the least, and E3 actually is pretty nice purely for the fact that it means your skill will now do 22% defense shred. That little extra percent can genuinely help out a lot just because it is more defense shred, and as a result, that additive multiplier is going to go even higher. Outside of that, really wouldn't say most of these Eidolons are worth it. E1 is the only exception, which is incredible in her ideal teams. And there we go, that's your basic moveset covered. I will say, I've very, very much just gone through things quickly. Black Swan, in actuality, with how much the Arcana stacks actually do, and how much they just double up on each other, how the effect actually works, she seems like a much more complicated character, and I've oversimplified her quite a bit here as well. But Black Swan is in no ways a super intimidating character to use in her ideal teams. I want to clarify that. She is extremely fun, and she works pretty well as you can just skill, then you can keep basic attacking if you want. You're going to be getting a lot of value either way, because all of your damage is going to come from those Arcana stacks, which you're going to get every attack either way. Your ult will not matter that much as long as you get to apply it every now and then. And your skill, as long as you're keeping that defense down fresh, that's good. Black Swan, super simple character to kind of just throw into a DOT team, and you'll be pretty happy. So now, let's actually talk about Black Swan as the character, why I like her, and why I think that she is genuinely super interesting. Black Swan, for me, was one of the characters I was most excited about in this entire game. I had gotten Kafka not long before, if my memory isn't failing me. I'm pretty sure that's how the reruns worked out. I had gotten Kafka not too long before, and I was super into the DOT archetype. My roommate played it at college. It looked super interesting. Kafka was an incredible character to watch go, and I knew that Black Swan would be the other missing ingredient to making this team super fun, super incredible. So I went through with that. I got Black Swan. I was genuinely so excited to have her on the team. Like, this character looks incredible. I loved her in the story. I love her voice acting. All of her animations are just, they have this beauty to them. It's all in this very ethereal sense. It is so hard to compare to any other character in this game what Black Swan is. Just purely from a design perspective, not even gameplay or anything like that. So Black Swan already really had my attention from the moment I got her and the moment I had started playing, you know, the moment I got more into the game. It was tied directly to DOT, and as a result of that, Kafka and Black Swan, as well as Acheron, who came not long after. What I like so much about Black Swan, honestly, it's tied a lot to DOT. The way DOT works, it is not just a one-man show. That's not really how DOT works. And I know some of you can probably say, oh, well, Hysolins is the best character and she does everything. Or, oh, Kafka is the driver, you know, she has to actually detonate the DOTs to do more of the damage. You're not wrong. But still, the way DOT works is interesting and different from other things in this game. DOT is not just a hyper carry style. You don't just slap an action advancer in there and say, okay, Sunday, you're built 134, my DPS is 135, I'm gonna keep spamming whale as Hysolins and then action advance again to get another whale, and that's gonna carry me to the end. That's not what this team is. This team is a collective. They work together and build off of each other to do great things. And it is genuinely some of the most fun in this entire game. I don't think that that's a particularly hot take either. The way the characters meld, the way every action is followed up, you keep building on your existing damage and do even more and more and more. It's a lot of fun. The average DOT experience is, let's say you have Kafka, Hysolins, Black Swan. Alright, so Black Swan opens up with a skill to reduce defense. Kafka follows up, immediately gets more damage. Then, you go to, like, Hysolins. Hysolins does the whale to increase damage taken. Kafka follows up, does more damage. Then you probably have a Kafka ult at that point, or not long after. You get to ult, detonate the damage again, and now she has another chance to follow up, which probably your Black Swan can now attack again. So now you get to send out the Arcana card with her basic attack or whatever, and you keep doing this, because then eventually you get your Black Swan ult to increase the damage taken even more. Then Kafka goes off of that, then you get Hysolins to detonate the damage that she and Black Swan have been building up this whole time. It is a team that works in a perfect synergy, supporting each other and building off of what the other characters do to take out enemies in a really fun and kind of brutal style as you watch them get shocked, wind-sheared, electrocuted, just obliterated to death slowly but surely, and it's not really that slow if I'm being honest. It is something that is unlike anything else in this game. Like, yeah, I can watch Casterus send out the dragon for the 80th time. I can watch a Nexa pop the Glock 16 times in a row and absolutely shred his enemies. These are all super interesting ways to play the game. It's all really fun. That's why I like this game. I love watching the effects and how characters actually fight and do their damage. But DOT is simply so different from all these other things, and that in itself makes it unique. And Black Swan is a big part of that, because her animations, the way that she contributes to a fight constantly just by having those Arcana stacks, it all is just nice. It's all unique, and that's what I'm looking for with my characters to a degree. I want to see just something cool. That's something that's fun to use. And Black Swan is fun to use. My biggest gripe with Black Swan and the current DOT team, I don't get to have as much fun with Black Swan specifically because I need Kafka to skill almost every single turn, and I need Hysolins to constantly keep up with her skills and her ultimate. So Black Swan gets shafted a little bit because she is mainly doing basic attacks. She gets to do the skill every once in a while, and then her ult doesn't come up as often as the other two. That's probably my biggest complaint, is Black Swan didn't receive the same sort of rework at any point, so she's a little bit behind them in terms of design, and that's unfortunate because those two are so fun to use, and Black Swan is right up there with them. You can't tell me that her animations are not gorgeous, and you can't tell me that with Kafka, she does bad damage, because you would be a liar. Her damage is still very significant for DOT. This was more of a statement about how much fun DOT is, rather than specifically Black Swan. Like I said, DOT is a collective that works together, and that in itself is what makes all of these characters fun, not just one of them. Black Swan is just a character unlike most others in this game, and I am just a huge fan of everything that they have done with her, and the fact that she's gotten a revival just as a result of the other two DOT characters having a revival, or Kafka having a revival and then Hysolin's getting added. It's nice that just by those two things happening, Black Swan was brought back into the spotlight, and I'm genuinely so ecstatic about that. Now, if we can just get a DOT-specific sustain, oh baby, we are cooking. That's what I'm looking for right there. So that is everything I wanted to say about Black Swan and her moveset. So now we can move on to the final part of today's video, which is going to be Black Swan's build and team. Yeah, I don't exactly think it's hard to explain that you should really just be using her in a DOT team. I really wouldn't recommend her elsewhere. Realistically, you actually could run with Acheron if you really wanted to. I think that it's okay. Not my favorite pairing, but it's okay. But yeah, just slap her on DOT mainly, and you will actually be a very happy camper, I can promise you that. Everything about Black Swan is pretty set in stone, honestly. You're not going to have a lot of freedom or creativity with how you want to build her and how you should build her. Your best light cone options are going to be Why Does the Ocean Sing, which is Hysolin's signature, Those Many Springs from Jiao Cho, and her own light cone Reforged Remembrance. Now, there have been, some rumors, some mumblings, that Reforged Remembrance is actually better than Those Many Springs. This is mainly due to the fact that Reforged Remembrance has a defense down effect, whereas Those Many Springs has a vulnerability effect. Or not vulnerability per se, I think it's a damage increase just flat. Either way, those two things are very different. As I mentioned earlier, defense down is super, super nice the more of it you can stack. Hysolin's has about 20%. Black Swan has about 20%. The ideal relic set for DOT, let's scroll down real quick, let's just show it off. 6% for a max of 3 DOTs, which you will have on these characters. So that is 18%. Just from Black Swan, with the combined Hysolin skill, that is at least 58% defense shred, just from that alone. Hysolins will also have this exact same set. If you are running Kafka on Cypher Cone, which is her best in slot, it's kind of neck and neck with before the tutorial mission starts, but I digress. That is even more defense down, up to 24%, I think, off the top of my head. You're now pushing 100 plus defense shred. Yeah. So now remember, that's without Reforged Remembrance's effect. That's insane. There's definitely some arguments for all three of these cones. Me personally, I will tell you, I use those many springs. I like that one. Reforged Remembrance is a good option for her now. Those many springs is a good option for her. Why Does the Ocean Sing is a good option for her. However, I would say the other two are a bit better than Why Does the Ocean Sing if you are not at a higher Eidolon level. It can be a bit harder to get the max value out of it, whereas the other two are much simpler cones. And yeah, they're just very simple cones to use. You're not going to have to think about anything else. You're not going to have to worry about any other Eidolon level or level of investment, just overall. I would say focus on one of those two cones, but hey, if you have an E1 Black Swan, Why Does the Ocean Sing is a phenomenal choice. In terms of a free-to-play option, if you have Eyes of the Prey is going to be by far your best option. It is just a great free-to-play light cone if you can get it. Otherwise, Good Night Sleep Well is your next best option. It's really not great, and yeah, I really wouldn't recommend anything else, actually. If you have Eyes, it took me 2 years to get Eyes of the Prey on my account. If you can get Eyes of the Prey early, like from a light cone banner, please do it. Just trust me on this. Please do it. Alright, let's move on to best relics. It is Prisoner in Deep Confinement, and it is not close. It is not close at all. Do not try anything else. I mean this very sincerely. Prisoner in Deep Confinement is what gives you additional attack percent and defense shred. That's based. End of the discussion. Now, moving on to your best planar set. The top option is Revelry by the Sea. It gives a very, very nice damage bonus to DOT characters based on the amount of attack you have. However, if you are struggling to hit your effect hit rate breakpoint, Pan-Cosmic Commercial Enterprise, the IPC planar, great choice, gives you effect hit rate and gives you a little extra damage on top of that. Me personally, I run Firmament Frontline Glamoth only because I really, really struggled getting good Revelry pieces, and the most important thing is substats with these characters, I'm not gonna lie. If you can get any of these light cones with great substats, that is going to be better than any of the other options in most cases. However, if your best substats happen to be on Revelry by the Sea, you are going to see by far the most benefit out of that. Keep that in mind, but Glamoth, Pan-Cosmic, Revelry by the Sea, Space Stealing Station. Great options all across the board. So, looking at Predwin, they often give you the recommended endgame stats. People shit on this a lot. I personally think this is honestly a really, really good way to kind of get rough estimates of what you want to build, how you want to do it. I digress. Me personally, I'm going to say the most important thing is build speed on your Black Swan. There are two ways to do this. First, get to about 160 speed. This is going to be hard, I'm not going to lie. That is going to be difficult. If you can do it, that's great. Otherwise, I would say get to at least 143. Solid breakpoint will still give you an extra action every once in a while, and you can maintain your attack level. The other way of doing this, get 134 speed. If you can get 134 speed with attack boots, however, you are going to see a massive, massive amount of damage. It is super, super nice. You can also just do 134 with speed boots and then just funnel everything into attack. Really, whatever works. Focus on getting your effect hit rate to 120, and then everything else should go into speed or attack, depending on how you're going to build the character. Just make sure you hit one of those speed breakpoints along the way. Alright, and that's actually about it. I already covered teams. That's our planars and relic set done. That's light cones done. Yeah, we are all wrapped up for today with Black Swan. I'd like to say again, Black Swan is just one of my favorite characters in this game. I absolutely love almost everything about her. I think she's really cool, and I really wanted to see more of her than what we've got currently, but hey, holding out hope. She'll probably be around for a little bit. I love Black Swan. This was a pretty fun video to get to make after not doing it for a while, and getting to talk about a character who is just, like, one of my absolute favorites. I really cannot describe that enough. So, yeah. Thank you so much to the person who paid for this. Appreciate it. Remember to become a channel member today if you would like to see a video like this or to get any other cool perks. And yeah, I have plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye.